here, and I have a major sweet tooth, so anytime I'm prepping or in general just trying to eat healthy, I need to find ways to make substitutions in effort for me to still have my sweets. And I think it's important that you do that, because if not, it's easy to fall into that habit of binging, and you can only be so restrictive for so long. So it's good to find good substitutes, and I have the perfect recipe for anyone who has a sweet tooth. I'm gonna make for you today some MTS cookies and cream cupcakes. They are delicious. You would have no idea that there's healthy ingredients in them. So let's get started. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is preheat your oven to 350, and what I've gone ahead and did is lined my cupcake pan. Actually, this recipe makes about 10 cupcakes, and I went ahead and sprayed them with some ham spray so that they don't stick. So that's first thing. Okay, for your ingredients, we're gonna mix our wet and dry ingredients separately. For dry ingredients, what we're gonna use is, of course, MTS cookies and cream. I'm gonna use 1 scoop of that. If you wanna make a different flavored cupcake, by all means, go for it. You can substitute out any other flavors. So we are going to use a combination of oat flour. If you don't have oat flour on hand, you could take oats, grind them up to make a flour, or you could use whole wheat flour, or probably whatever other flour you have laying around. We are going to use a little bit of coconut flour as well. This is delicious for baking if you guys haven't used it before. It is straight up ground coconut. It adds a nice sweetness and it adds a little volume to your food, especially high in protein and fiber. So this is a great addition to any of your baking recipes. I'm going to use stevia to sweeten it today. Use whatever sweetener you like. And some baking powder. This is what helps it rise. For wet ingredients, what we're going to use is some Greek yogurt, whatever kind you prefer. I use the plain 0% fat. If you like, you could use vanilla or another flavor. I'm going to go ahead and just use the plain. Again, this helps add to the protein content of our cupcakes. Greek yogurt is nice and thick and delicious. I love Greek yogurt. Once you start eating it, you can't go back, but it's great for baking, and we're also going to use this for our frosting. Okay, so we've got that. I'm also going to use some low-fat cottage cheese. Again, this is going to help the protein content of our cupcakes. I did choose the 2%. If you prefer, you could do a 1% or a fat-free. I don't really care for fat-free cottage cheese. You have to remember, anytime all the fat is removed out of a food item, there's going to be something else added in. So typically your fat-free cottage cheese is going to be a little bit higher in carbohydrates. But low fat here, 2.5 grams of fat per serving, not too bad. So we're going to use that. I'm going to use the original unsweetened almond milk from Wegmans. Again, use a milk of your choice. This is just what I prefer. Unsweetened applesauce. No need to sweeten it up because we've got our stevia. Egg whites. I'm going to use the liquid egg whites, or you can use regular eggs and just crack them. And some vanilla. That's pretty much it. The only other thing I want to tell you for this recipe, you're going to need 2 separate bowls. We're going to mix them up separately. You're also going to want a hand blender for 1 portion of this. So we're going to get going here. Start with our dry ingredients. We're going to do 1 full scoop of the cookies and cream. Dump that in there. We're going to do 1, make sure I have all my measuring cups out here. All right, got my measuring cup. We're going to do 1 1/4 cup of the oat flour. You could, of course, go ahead and measure all these ingredients on the scale for precision, but in terms of making this video for you guys and keeping it interesting, I'm not going to spend the time doing that. So 1, and I'm just going to do 1/4 cup. That's about right. For your coconut flour, you're going to add 3 tablespoons of this. Like I said, this adds a nice amount of fiber to our cupcakes as well, which makes it much more healthy than your normal cupcake for several reasons, but that fiber can help fill you up. There's 3 tablespoons of our coconut flour. I'm going to go ahead and add 1/3 cup of stevia, and like I said, you could use Splenda or whatever other sweetener you guys prefer. Just 1/3 cup. and 1 teaspoon of your baking powder. Make sure you measure that one exactly, because that will definitely change how much your cupcakes rise. So there we've got all our dry ingredients in a bowl mixed up. Mix that up better after. What we're going to do now is mix the wet ingredients in a separate bowl. And add 1/3 cup of the cottage cheese. Make too much of a mess here. Next thing we're going to add are 3, if you're using regular eggs, you can add 3 egg whites. I'm going to do the equivalent of this, which is a little bit more than 1/3 of a cup. Been lazy and been buying these recently because they're just quicker and don't make as much of a mess when cracking all your eggs, because we eat a lot of eggs, but it definitely does cost more. For Greek yogurt, I'm going to go ahead and just add a tablespoon. If you don't want to add it to the recipe, you could add a little bit more cottage cheese. This is probably a little bit more than a tablespoon. But like I said, it's not an exact science here. It's all going to taste good and go to the same place. I'm going to add 1/2 cup of our almond milk, or whatever kind of milk you want. Don't make fun of my cheap measuring cups here. Probably should buy some new ones. Alright, and I am going to add 1/4 of a cup of applesauce. It's getting a little messy up in here. That's alright. Stick that in there, why not? Again, go ahead and buy the unsweetened applesauce. It's not going to hurt if you buy the sweetened, it's just not necessary to add the extra sweetener to it because we're sweetening it ourselves with the stevia. Alright, so we've got everything together there except for the vanilla extract, which I am just going to add 1 teaspoon of. Okay, perfect. You can see we've got all our wet ingredients in there. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and use my hand mixer to mix this up. That just really helps with the cottage cheese. If you don't have a hand mixer, you could throw it in the blender or a magic bullet if you have that. Or you could do your best with mixing it up with a fork. But we're gonna go ahead and blend this up real quick before we add it to our dry ingredients. All right, this is a messy one. This literally only took 15 seconds that I blended it up. It's all mixed in together, all our wet ingredients. So now you're just gonna wanna go ahead and whoop, mix the two together. Anytime you're making a cake or a cupcake, you don't want to over mix it because then your product's not going to turn out as good. Just get all that good stuff. Okay, so there you go. You can tell when your batter's pretty much all mixed in. Like I said, this recipe makes for about 10. So I've got a couple extra here. What you're going to want to do is go ahead and just start filling up each of your cupcake liners. I usually just do a big spoonful in each and try to get an even amount of batter in all of them. That way they cook nice and evenly. So what I'm going to do is get all 10 of these filled up with my batter, throw it in the oven, 350 like I already said, for about 14 to 16 minutes depending on your oven. You want to just keep an eye on them. And I will see you when these beauties come out. Alright guys, I'm so excited about these. They took 15 minutes in the oven and my batter actually did make 12. So you can see how cute they turned out. They look, you know, just like a cupcake would. You can see some of the cottage cheese in mine, which means I probably could have blended up a little bit longer, but I'm not that picky. They're cupcakes. So what I wanted to show you is I went ahead and made my frosting for it, and all I did was take a tablespoon of the cookies and cream whey and mixed it with a tablespoon of Greek yogurt and then added some stevia to taste. So it's very flexible. You could do different flavors of frosting if you wanted, and it makes a nice little icing for you. So tablespoon of yogurt to a tablespoon of protein, and there you go, you've got your healthy frosting. So I went ahead and frosted myself one little one because I haven't had breakfast yet. Nutritionals on these are amazing. So for one cupcake, it's only about 80 calories, 9 carbs, 6.5 grams of protein, 1.5 grams of fat. Come on, you can't beat that. And you get almost 2 grams of fiber per cupcake. So if you compare this to your traditional cupcake, you can't even compare the two. These are so much better for you, and they will help curb your sweet tooth. So I hope you guys give these a try. I'm gonna go ahead and give them a try myself. That's good. They're nice and moist from the applesauce. And that icing adds a nice sweetness. These are so good. I hope you guys check out this recipe. Give it a try. It's very versatile. Try different flavors with it and enjoy. Eat up.